Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we're going to be talking about She-Hulk Season 1. No, I don't know if it's Season 1, whatever. Episode 5? I should have planned for this. Mean green and poured into them jeans. All that and more right after that we have no control over. Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Jeff Randall. Just kidding, it's Catherine Ray.
You know, it's funny. I have like a bit of a complex because people know for a fact. Like, they might not know who's on the show when I do the intro, but they know for a fact Jeff Randall's not here because he does the intro. So whenever I do the intro, I have this imagined thing where people across the country are going like, oh, it's non-Jeff Randall episode.
All the Jeff stans just turn it off immediately.
And like, I don't fault them. I love you, Jeff stans. Although none of you are hearing this, so I don't know why I'm saying that.
You've all turned this off already
exactly.
at this point.
Those Jeff stans, gah. But no, so when you say I'm Jeff Randall, like, they know already. Welcome, Catherine Ray. How are you?
I'm doing well, Matthew Carroll. How are you?
I'm good. We had a weird scheduling thing. Jeff is traveling this week, and so we didn't need to wait till the evening to do it, and it was better for you to do it in the morning. It's always better for me to do it in the morning. So instead of doing an instant take last night, we're just doing this first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock a.m. 9 your time. I'm so bad at time zones. So let's talk. Let's talk about She-Hulk. What did you think of this here episode? Mean green and poured into dim jeans, which I'm going to say as many times as I can in this episode.
I mean, excellent episode title for starters. Just gave me a good giggle. This one was an episode. I actually don't feel overwhelmingly positive about this one. But for some things that we can talk about as far as like how I feel about how this fits in and does it even need to fit in and that kind of stuff. But I mean, it did make me giggle at certain points. I feel like we got a lot more from characters that I like a lot in this episode, which was enjoyable. So overall, it was pretty good. I did watch it like laying in bed on my side on my iPad this morning, which pre any like caffeine or anything, which may be factoring into my opinion on the whole episode. Let's be honest. Yeah,
I tried to wake up at least 30 minutes before I was going to watch it and just like shake my face around so that I wouldn't have that, because I do think there's that like dreary eyed like. It's too early to be watching a comedy, especially. Like, I'm just not zoned in.
Totally. I was going to ask, so you didn't wake up at 2 a.m. to watch. This was your first time watching it?
No. Yes. I had a crazy night, but also, it's a long story. I've had an insane few weeks, but to cap it all off, my dog ate an asthma inhaler yesterday, or two nights ago. And it sounds hilarious because it's an insane thing to do. It sounds like a dog ate an asthma inhaler. What the hell? But apparently they are very poisonous to dogs. Because they're aerosolized, if your dog bites into it, it explodes in their mouth. And because it's absorbed by the mouth and gums, they basically get all of the doses at one time. And so depending on how it hits them, if it like zooms into their face or into their mouth or zooms out of their mouth or whatever, it can like be really, really bad. He's safe. He's fine. I should have said that in the very beginning. I hope I didn't worry anybody.
Phew.
It mostly got outside of his mouth, but he still had to go to the like doggy ER in the middle of the night, which of course it has to happen in the middle of the night. So you can't take it to a normal vet. You have to take the dog to, so it was a whole thing. So anyway, I spent the last night. So when I found out you wanted to do that this morning, I was like, great. I do not need to stay up till 2 a.m. again. I did that last night for a dog. And so Quilly's good though. Quilly came home from the hospital yesterday.
Quill.
He just had like blood pressure and heart rate issues all night. So they had to like they had to keep him literally like fucking doggy IV. Like that's just craziness. So I have not left hospitals this entire month. It's like Skylar was in the hospital for a week. Then my mom's been in the hospital this entire month. And then my dog was in the hospital. And I was just in there like, I'm really tired of hospitals. I'm really tired of talking to like doctors about my loved one's heart rates and blood pressure and whether they're going to like regulate. Anyway, it's fine. Everything's good. The dog is home and happy.
Is fine now.
But I was like happy to sleep last night.
I was too.
That being said, I woke up, splashed some water on my face, got myself together so that I could enjoy this episode, and I did. I do think you have a great point though, or like your feelings are valid. I think this is there's less going on in here that is sort of explorable into the Marvel universe. Like this is a much more. It's the first episode we haven't had a major cameo, right?
We got a hint right at the end.
Absolutely. But no actual cameo.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So that joke she made a couple episodes was true. This isn't the show where every episode you get a cameo. Maybe every other episode there will be. But and I think your point about there being more time with the side characters, the characters you really like. Like, I think the reason you got that is because there's no Wong in this episode. There's no Banner in this episode. There's no Blonsky in this episode. So, like, you got a chance to spend time with Pug and Nikki and Titania.
Finally, some real meaningful Titania in this episode.
Yes.
Which I gotta say was a little bit underwhelming, unfortunately.
I don't want to say anything negative about the actress or anything. And plus, I really don't know. But all this reshuffling of the show and how they like moved it around and cut things off and stuff, it seems kind of Titania related. Like a lot of the scenes that have seemed truncated or weird, including the courtroom scene, which I think was more of a CGI issue. Mm-hmm. But this scene too, like she went to meet Titania for the first time at the like the announcement of her like new She-Hulk line, and that scene seemed edited like to hell and back. Like it seemed like she said one word to her, she said one word back. It seemed like they were about to have a repartee, and then they just like cut the scene. And it was like, ooh, it's starting to make me think that like they made choices for the Titania character that didn't fit the vibe, or maybe it was too broad. Like she comes from a show that I really, really love, which is The Good Place. Great show, but it's a little more broad and a little more, I don't know, almost silly. Not that this show hasn't been silly, but it's like silly, but they're trying to keep it still within the MCU. So I don't know if they just like went too broad with her and then they had to like cut certain things or what. That's just a total speculation, but
well, so 2 points. Speaking the silly tone, I actually don't feel like they're nailing it, which I think is some of my like not less than stellar feelings about the season so far. Is I think they're really trying to go for like a much more silly vibe than they usually have, and I just don't know that I feel like it's hitting the nail on the head. But I also think that maybe that's because I'm so not used to that in my Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a me thing. Like maybe I just have to kind of let go of some of these expectations and enjoy this show for what it is, which is just this like really silly, human focused kind of law procedural show that we're getting with like some smatterings of superhero stuff here and there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not the normal Marvel tone.
Oh yeah, and sorry, the second thing, speculation. This show does not lend itself to one episode a week. What are we speculating about right now? Like, okay, cool, we got a Daredevil helmet. Is it gold? Ooh, I don't know. I feel like with other shows there were these like really incredible like cliffhangers and stuff we were thinking about before the next one, and this one I'm just like, okay, cool, I'll see what her suit looks like next week.
Right. Yeah,
which of course I'm excited to see what her suit looks like, but do I really feel that that's like if this was just rolling into a next episode, if I could just be binging this right now, I would totally, and I'd probably like feel a little bit better about the kind of like lighthearted silly parts about it, because I'd be like, oh yeah, funny, haha, this is just like a cute little Marvel show. But instead I'm just like, okay, I gotta wait a week to see the suit. I gotta wait a week to see the suit, I guess.
No, that's a really good point. I had mentioned in like one of the earlier episodes that this show, or we've been talking about it actually a lot the last 2 weeks about how speculation in this show, which you haven't been here for, but the speculation in this show is almost ridiculous because like you start talking about Wong and like whether something was a joke or whether he meant it, and whether like you stack these like speculation on a joke that maybe was real, maybe he meant it, maybe he didn't, maybe it was a joke, maybe it was a lie, but like it's all like this sort of just soup of speculation, and that's just not what this show's designed for. But I'm a staunch believer in the week to week model for shows, all these Marvel shows. Like I think that Disney is doing such a smart thing by doing that, but you're right. That might be why this show is not fitting as well into that speculation mode, because it's such a silly comedy that we don't really need it week to week. Like this would be a show that would be fine to do in a binge model. But I mean, I still enjoy. Even though it sometimes leads us down stupid paths, I still enjoy the speculation of it all. Like I'll sit here and talk about, okay, this guy's in. What city are they in? Are they in LA?
Yeah.
I want to speculate about like who else is getting their suits from this guy. You know what I mean? Like for a second, I thought it might be Justin Hammer. Like that's what I really wanted. Like I wanted it to be Justin Hammer at one scene.
Oh wow! Oh, I didn't even think about that. I thought about the guy from Daredevil, and I was like, "This is going to be our tie-in."
Oh, right.
I forget that character's name, but I was like, "Oh, cool! This is." I mean, it did end up being the Daredevil tie-in, but like not. Yeah. But also, if they're in LA, why is he getting his stuff made? Why is Matt Murdock in LA getting his stuff made?
We hadn't seen him in a few years. If he's like, let's say he's gotten into the superhero community a little more, he's coming out. Maybe he's coming out for something completely different, like a lawyer gig. Like he's got some sort of law thing that's bringing him out there, which is, I think, pretty likely given the show that this is. And then, but he also, while he's there, he like, Melvin, I think was the name's character.
Melvin, there you go.
He did the suits. He's like, Melvin's like, okay, I've got a friend who makes suits for people too, and it's he does a whole different thing out there, and like go see him in LA while you're there, or like maybe whoever, whatever,
Yeah.
I can't even remember if Melvin survived the series, because I know there was like he was under attack at different points.
Good question. Someone is yelling at the speaker right now to tell us. I just couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I've been rewatching Daredevil with my mom, and it's pretty funny. It's just really silly. My mom is like, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast yet. I know I've posted about it in the Stranded Panda chat, but like my mom is so into Daredevil. She has watched like almost all 3 seasons of Daredevil over just a few weeks. She's just been like, next episode. My mom doesn't binge anything. It is literally teaching her what a streaming service is. Like she's finally understanding how to navigate the Roku, because she now knows how to get to Daredevil. Like Daredevil has completely like changed her view of what TV is. It's so funny. I showed her the first episode, and like, I knew she'd like it, like the religious tones and like the superhero stuff, and how good Matt and Foggy are. And so like,
so you've been watching a little bit of it with her, right?
Yeah, as much as I can. Like I'll be working in here on the podcast, but then I'll go out there to like take a break, and I'll end up spending 2 hours watching Daredevil because it's so good.
Well, it's so good, but can we talk about how different the tone of that show is, and and the character that we got as Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock is so wildly different from the show that we're watching right now, and I'm so curious about how those two are going to fit together, and in what capacity. Like, are we going to get are we going to get in the show Matt Murdock, and then the audience just knows that that's Daredevil, and then we'll get that little connection with the suit tie-in, or are we going to get Matt Murdock and Daredevil? Are they going to interact, and what is the tone going to be like? Because the tone of this show has been a whole other end of the spectrum from that Daredevil show, which was spectacular. I'm a huge Daredevil fan for sure, but the two do not feel like they're gonna mesh well together in my head from what I'm imagining. I
am concerned about that, mostly because of the Fisk of it all, because I felt like Fisk was treated really weird in Hawkeye. Fisk did not feel like Fisk, and so
he would have ripped Kate Bishop's arms off her body. I mean, there's like that fight at the end was just, I don't know. You're right. They handled Fisk very weird in Hawkeye. Sorry, I guess spoilers for the end of Hawkeye.
And I know, and I know that, and that was a pretty serious. I felt like Hawkeye was a much easier tone to bridge. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so, but that's also the villain. That's also Fisk, who's like never really has a funny moment. Matt Murdock has a lot of funny moments. Like if you see him in, like, I don't know, all the moments with Foggy and Karen when they're just like out at a bar laughing and stuff, like those lawyer moments absolutely fit with the lawyer moments on this show. Like I can totally see Jen Walters and Matt Murdock in a bar after a case having a drink talking about lawyer stuff. Like that tone totally works for me.
Yeah, I want her to like turn to the camera and be like, am I attracted to a blind guy? You know?
he seems, I don't know. He seems to know what's going on for a blind guy like that.
Yeah. Make some little sly comment.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting a lot of, I feel like this helmet means we're getting Daredevil next week. I don't know that that's true.
I'm not banking on it.
I kind of am, but mostly because like last week they had the Titania tag at the end where she stole her name. So the next episode was about Titania stealing her name.
We didn't get a post credit this week, did we?
No, we didn't.
First week they haven't given us one. I wonder why.
Yeah. I was curious about that too. And like, see, and here it goes. It goes into my like theory about Titania. I'm wondering if like, because this is the big Titania episode. I wondered if it was like Titania sitting in her lair thinking about how she was going to mess with Jen next or something like that. Which that tone, I could totally see them swinging for that tone and it not working. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I have a feeling that's my total theory. I have no idea, based purely on like what we've seen on the screen. It seems like Titania might have been like a big, broad, like I'm a villain character. Maybe that just didn't work with like the sort of realism of the MCU.
So I did listen to the episodes for the last 2 weeks episodes.
Sweet.
And the bit about Wong and like the speculation thing, which I just love that conversation. But honestly, this week I was thinking as I was watching, I was like, this is not the Wong that I've been introduced to before, right? Like, also, he's not a very good sorcerer supreme to be relying on the American legal system to be dealing with this. Like, Mordo just went and took that dude's magic that time. I'm not saying that was the right call, but I'm saying he did it.
Well, see, but that's dealing with magic. Like, if you go into someone's culture and you use magic in their culture. Let's say we're talking about the American legal system, but whatever he's dealing with, you go into their culture, you use magic in their culture, and it screws them up in their culture. I think that Wong, like, that's why I liked the theory that when Wong said, how about I send him to the shadow dimension or whatever, like he was actually lying and he was like actually like, oh, I'll just say that and then I'll let him free because that's what I was going to do anyway because Abomination is reformed and he believes that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I was like, do I start speculating that Wong is a Skrull or something? And this is like a whole nother character. Because like, it just tonally, it didn't really fit in. I mean, I got a good giggle out of the whole like Sopranos running joke that they had with like him watching The Sopranos. But I guess I was just like, this really doesn't kind of like meld well with the Wong that I have in my head as like the character that we've been introduced to before.
I feel like it feels silly for a Sorcerer Supreme, but this is also the guy who was listening to Beyonce in the library. So
I did specifically remember that scene when I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, well, we did have that, you know, like he was listening to Single Ladies that one time. It's a bop. We all know it. He was jamming.
Yeah, he was bopping. he was
what I would have loved? I would have loved if they, because is this 10 episodes, 9 episodes?
This is 10. Yeah.
10. I would have loved if they released this in a chunk of 5 and a chunk of 5. I think that because this was 5. So we would have gotten to watch these 5 episodes, laugh at all the jokes, see Banner, see Blonsky, and then we would have ended with Matt's helmet.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like that could have been like oh God, now we're waiting, like, let's wait 2 weeks for the next 5 to come out or something. Right. I feel like that may have been, in my humble but correct opinion, the smarter way to come out with these episodes. Just because they're so short too, you know? Like, I just find myself kind of wanting more at the end of these. Which is, I guess, good and is what they should be doing. But especially with just the really short episodes, I was like, man, I could have watched all 5 of these in one sitting for sure.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing with these little nugget-sized things. It's just so easy to just burn through, which, I don't know. It's the MCU, and I love it, and I love the idea that we watch this 30 minutes, even if it's silly, and, like, we get to, like, dig down on it and talk about it and stuff. So, like, for my own, like, podcasting purposes and for like the fun of the community, I enjoy having a different episode every week because we get to just talk about Wong and if he's really Wong for a week, and if it's a weird Wong. And this week we get to talk about, and that's the thing. As you said from the beginning, there's less to speculate about this episode. And I got a note. We have barely talked about this episode. We've been talking for 20 minutes and barely talked about this episode because there's not a lot. We want to talk about everything else, but like, because there's really just nothing to speculate about, nothing that really connects strongly to the universe. And I think that's like, your point was very valid at the very beginning. But I do think this is a fun episode, but that's kind of all it is. It's like it's candy, it's candy. Yeah. It's setting up the next thing with the drip broker. It's showing us a tease of Matt Murdock, but really it's just a chance to see the characters doing their character things. The only sort of like, I think, serious, I guess, two things that are sort of moving the plot forward, and that is still Jen's relationship with She-Hulk, like how she feels about She-Hulk. Mm-hmm. And her embracing She-Hulk, like, just enough. She was still, like, tentatively embracing She-Hulk with her dating profile. And then it was snatched away from her. And it's like, she didn't appreciate the She-Hulk of it all. She was ready to just, like, she really was pushing it away. She was like, no, I'm Jen. And then she sort of got a taste of She-Hulk just enough that when it was pulled away from her, she really wants to be She-Hulk. She really wants that part of herself. And even just losing the name feels very offensive to her.
Well, I mean, she also wanted to get laid.
Sure, absolutely. But like, that's the thing, is it worked. It worked in a way that like she has longed for that attention. She tried with her profiles in the past, with her like business suit profile, that Nikki makes fun of her for. Is this your professional picture?
Because, I mean, on a dating profile, that's a red flag for sure.
I bet. I have yet to be on a dating profile, but, yeah, I bet.
Pro tip for all the listeners out there, don't use your LinkedIn picture as your profile picture.
Okay. But if you're a musician and it's stage pictures, is that okay, or is that a big red flag?
I mean, do you have a LinkedIn as a musician?
Yeah.
Don't use the same picture.
Well, no. Don't have that many good pictures.
I did like all of the interaction we got with Pug and Nikki in this episode. I think they're fun characters. I think we're very endeared to them.
Oh,
and
I love
even
them.
just kind of watching them kind of like talk about like shoes and favors and being friends and just seeing their little banter was just like very sweet and kind of fun. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I love their deal. And I love that, like, I need to call that favor now, but you haven't even done the original favor. Like, I love his voice. I just love his voice. Yeah. And then she's like, but I'm giving you a break on the interest. He's like, good point.
I will say they built up the drip broker quite a bit. And also the use of the word broker in the title, I think, was meant to be a little bit of a, what's that called? Red herring. But they they built up that reveal so much. And then I was like, oh, it's a character we've never met before. Yeah. Which I was like, okay, all right. They just wanted to build like a mystique around this character that I think is a little campy and ridiculous, but I'll still get a kick out of, I guess,
Yeah, no, I liked what they did, but I did in the middle of it, like, I was like, ooh, could it be Justin Hammer? Like, I was like, a guy who's, I mean, he even said, like, do you need weapons in the suit? Do you need this or that? And like, I was like, this could be a small nod toward Armor Wars or something like that. I was like, ooh, what can we do here? And like, Justin Hammer was a very well-dressed man and dancing around in his nice suits. I just watched Iron Man 2. So it was like, I was thinking like, ooh, it could be Justin. And then no, it was not. It also is in this right part of the country for it to be Justin Hammer. So I was just like,
totally. I really didn't even think about that.
Yeah. It's probably not worth thinking about, but
well, so like with the speculation thing, I'm trying to take myself out of my usual like MCU watching mode with this show and just kind of enjoy it for what it is and take it episode by episode and just get the giggles that I'm getting out of it. But it's just such a departure from how we've been doing things for so long now that I think that's kind of where I'm like stumbling and where I'm kind of like having a harder time really just like letting go of everything else behind this and everything else ahead of this and just enjoying this for what it is. I know there was just a ton of announcements that came out at D23, and I've honestly been trying to avoid knowing about any of them because
Okay.
I mean, we've talked about it before that I feel like I'm not served well as a fan by knowing all of the things that are coming out ahead of time, because then it's even harder for me to like not speculate about things and not try to connect things and not have these moments of like, but what about this and what about this? And I just want to be able to enjoy Wong as a silly Sopranos fan who's never watched it and is trying to avoid internet spoilers. But instead I'm like, use your magic, bro. I've seen you do bigger things than this and I know what magic can do. And you know, so like I'm trying to, but it's so hard when you're in this huge interconnected universe that has taken literally years to build. It's kind of hard for me to like separate what I'm watching right now from all of that other bigger stuff. And I think that's kind of like the issue I'm having, all other than the editing stuff, which I will say was egregious in this episode.
Yeah, this episode felt a little edity more than others, for sure. One of the jokes I liked best, just to talk about some of the jokes, because I do think this episode is about the jokes. Like, there's just almost nothing else going on except for a little bit of Jen character development and good jokes, and like a little world building around the drip broker that we may or may never see again. You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, my guess is honestly never again.
Yeah, I mean, I could see if this show goes 4 seasons, it's very likely she will need to go back to the drip broker for something else. You know, but like. And I could totally see them making some good jokes of that, and like maybe we see other things. Like, I kind of want to go back and watch this episode, like, and freeze frame it a little bit and see if there's any like Easter eggs to other characters' costumes in the background and stuff like that.
When they were like rolling things in front, and I saw that, I was like, if I paused and enhanced, I'm sure we could find some stuff in here. But I literally hadn't even gotten vertical yet. This morning I was still totally horizontal in bed.
Well, and that's also the fault of an instant reaction, because we're like, you know, we needed to get onto the podcast, so we're like, let's just watch it. This is the first reviewing. Next week we'll do our like, you know, feedback episode, which we will do this week, I promise. We didn't do it for the last 2 weeks because travel and stuff. I loved the title sequence. I loved it so much. I love it
because it was by Titania.
Yeah, it was so good. And even I think it's before the title sequence. You see her in the kitchen and you hear the Titania commercial. Like She-Hulk by Titania commercial, and I love the trolliness of Titania, that she's like, I own who I am, and it's like, oh, it's such a good troll. It's such a good troll. And then to come right out of that scene into the title sequence and it's just be like, She-Hulk by Titania. It
honestly reminded me of best show ever, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when they were in like the framework and they switched it to like Agents of Hydra.
Yeah. And
like just changing the title card up enough to like be reflective of what's going on in the show. I love when they do little nods like that.
Me too. Really do. And then this was also sort of an inverse of a previous episode we got with Dennis, where they had to embarrass Dennis to get him off of the, you know, to win the case. They had to embarrass him. Yeah. And this was the same thing for Jen. And I wonder how much of that, like, it felt almost, this is only the third case we've gotten, and they kind of used the same tactic in 2 of those cases. And I was kind of like, ooh, that's the same joke twice. Like, I don't know about that, but I enjoyed it still.
I was a little sad about the guys only wanting She-Hulk and not wanting Jen.
Me too.
I thought that was interesting. I don't know, commentary maybe, but it was also just a little sad that Jen isn't getting, there's no love for Jen. It's just love for She-Hulk.
100%.
I did appreciate Booker, the lawyer, being like, you deserve better than that, you know, like, that even that really hot guy, like, you can do better than that. So that was a nice little bit. But yeah, I think, I don't know if it did feel like important stuff for the Jen character to be having this still kind of push and pull between like people who only want me for She-Hulk and people who can't appreciate me for Jen, and that kind of, which I feel like we'll hopefully get more of this season, right?
Yeah, I definitely think we will. And I think they're doing something really interesting with Jen, that she's a flawed character, but most of our characters that we see flaws in Marvel, they're flawed in some like moral way. Like Tony Stark is he does a lot of the good things, but he's doing them a lot of times for the wrong reasons. He's narcissistic. So his whole arc is about him becoming self-sacrificial in the end. You know what I mean? Like that's actually a lot of the characters is like, when will you learn? It's Doctor Strange too. When will you learn to put down the knife and give it to someone else? When will you learn to like step into the background? And I think what's interesting with Jen, and I think it's also commentary on her gender, is that she is so used to being in the background. Now she has this power and it pushes her to the forefront, but she's so uncomfortable there. In this episode, when Titania takes her trademark, it takes her boss telling her, no, you have to go fight for your trademark. Like, it's part of your job. Like, you have to go do it. She's not planning to go fight for it. So her flaws as a character are not like moral. They're like confidence. And I think that's a very real thing. They're not just women face, but like, I think it is something specific to her gender in the show. That she's just been pushed to the back as a lawyer. Her family doesn't really respect her a lot. Like, she's just sort of like this, she really lacks a lot of confidence. And a lot of her like issues thus far have been her not having confidence in herself. And I think like self-care, self-love, all that stuff. I think we're going towards a place where that's what this show is about, is her figuring out how to love herself and like respect herself and have confidence. But it's interesting because it's the opposite of so many Marvel characters, which is like, I am so confident that I'm the right guy, that I have to, my whole lesson has to be to learn self-sacrifice. And she's like, she's learning she has to learn the opposite, you know?
It is kind of nice to get to see a character step up instead of like having to step back. That is kind of nice. I hadn't really thought about that, like specifically like that before, but I do like that. And I do hope we get more. I mean, I think Tatiana Maslany is just an incredible actress, but I will say I prefer watching her act as Jen, not as She-Hulk.
It is a bummer how the CGI problems have caused us to really have to like look for her performance. And because I do like, have you seen it, Orphan Black?
It's pushed really high to the top of my to watch list, but it is still on the to watch list. I know you've been extolling its virtues for years. Yeah,
it's really, really great. And like, even just watching like the first season or whatever, you'll get a sense of like Tatiana Maslany as an actress, because her performances in that are just mind-bogglingly good. Weirdly, one moment that like made me see the Tatiana of it all through She-Hulk was when she said that line, or when they read her profile and they said, mean green and put into dim jeans. I told you I was going to try to say as many times as I could. And then they said, I need a man with a sturdy back and a reinforced king-size bed. JK, 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 JK. And then it cut to her, and the like embarrassed smile that she had was so good. That reaction was so good. And I like really saw Tatiana's acting in that moment through the She-Hulk character, which I agree, it's been like few and far between when I actually really get a sense of what Tatiana was going for, which is a bummer, a real bummer.
I can see, I mean, they made like such a valiant effort with it, right? I can really see like they put a ton of time and into like facial tracking and just trying to, but I don't think that as advanced as our CG stuff is, it just isn't the same as a real human face. Again, we're just so programmed to be looking at faces all the time. And so even if you're 98% of the way there, that 2% is what we're going to notice and what we're going to kind of feel on that character. Yeah. And also there was 2 transitions that they didn't show us specifically from like in the Drip Brokers. When she's going from She-Hulk to Jen and Jen to She-Hulk, they specifically didn't show us those on camera. And I was like, yeah, I notice when you don't give us these transitions. I can't help but notice that you're just not doing this off screen. And it's got to just be a time, a money, and a CGI thing, which is a bummer, because we've come to expect so much more from Marvel. And we've gotten so much more from Marvel in the past, you know, which is again why I think this like fire hose of content we're getting is just like, it's a lot, and I don't know that it's like my favorite.
I hear that. it's a supply and demand thing. It's like the more supply we get, the less we're going to value it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just true. When we were getting 2 movies a year in 2008, it was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a universe one day, and we're like so excited for Thor, so excited for Captain America, and now it's like, oh, you better give us Captain America next week. Like, you know, it's just totally different vibe for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I also can't complain. I mean, I am very happy to be living in this moment that we get so many things.
I can complain, and I will complain.
I hear you. I do. I will complain when they're bad, when things are bad. I can't complain about lots of content because I do like it. I do enjoy the lots of content.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely hear you. I think there's definitely like big things to be said. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all. That's all the things I had in my notes and stuff.
I didn't even take any notes.
You were horizontal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like made my niece wake up, and I was like, okay, you keep wanting to watch She-Hulk with me, but I keep watching it at 2 a.m. I'm watching it at 7:15. If you can wake up and be like dressed for school and be completely ready, we can watch She-Hulk before you go to school. And so she did. And so I was like up and you know, vertical and eating my breakfast.
I'm happy. So something I'm just thinking about. I feel like this is the most implied sex we've ever really gotten in the MCU, which is fun, and the most like sexual we've got to see a character in that, like, she's like she's essentially making a Tinder profile, right?
Yeah.
And just like the ferocious swiping and like the, you know, coming out of the portal and landing on top of the guy on the couch. I was just like, okay, cool. We're getting like actually PG-13 in this Marvel for once, you know, like Marvel has been so largely like sexless for, you know, a lot of it, it serves a purpose and it's totally fine. But it is kind of fun to see that tone shift a little bit in this show.
So I'm pretty sure in comics, She-Hulk has hooked up with Daredevil.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Do you think we're going to get that?
I mean, are we getting Karen? What's going on? I have so many questions. I don't know. I wonder. I can definitely picture them meeting, and again, her being like, is this blind guy's like got game or something, right? Yeah. I can picture her like turning to the camera and just being like, what's this guy's deal? You know, I don't know. I can definitely see her falling. I mean, also, Charlie Cox is like a specimen. How could you
absolutely
not? Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't call She-Hulk that, but yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, I'm actually really sad you weren't here for those episodes the last 2 weeks, because they were very like I don't know, dating and swiping heavy, and I think me and Jeff both are like, I don't know how to talk about that.
I loved the Megan Thee Stallion cameo.
Oh my gosh,
such a fan of her, and I think it was hilarious and wonderful. Yeah, it was so good. It was so good.
I have like for 2 weeks now, I've been trying to go correctly, like trying to find that voice that she does. It's not confidence,
not easy. Matt. You got to just step up. You got to just do it. You got to feel it.
Listen, I am a vocalist. I'm trying to find the actual like I'm putting way too much thought into it. Like I'm thinking about, does the soft palate need to be a little more raised? Just find the like proper resonance for Like,
no, you just gotta tap into your inner hot girl and let it out.
I do that every day. Don't worry. That's believe me. I don't have a problem with confidence or inner hot girl. I'm there all the time. But it's the vocal timbre that she uses is very difficult. Part of it is she just has such a different instrument than I do, as my vocal teachers would say. Okay, I guess that's probably about all our She-Hulk talk for today.
I know, I could just ramble more, but that's really about it.
Absolutely could too. It's great talking to you, Catherine. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Anywhere they can like follow you online or anything that you would like people to tell people?
Absolutely not.
All right, I dig it.
You can try to find me on Matcher. Good luck.
I wonder if anyone's created a Matcher app yet. I feel like someone had to have like created a Matcher app to like, hey, someone's going to search that, right?
Are you on the App Store right now? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I'm searching Matcher. No. Oh, wait, here it is, Matcher. Dating app for Indians. That makes sense. Like, matching, like marriage matching, or what's it called?
Arranged marriage?
Arranged marriage matchmaker is what I was trying to do.
No, there you go. I was like, what phrase are you going for?
It has the word match in it. I know it. That's why it's called Matcher. Cordo B says, how did he get an appointment? He's so exclusive. I think she's talking about how did Matt Murdock get an appointment with the drip broker.
Well, Daredevil's already famous. Daredevil's been in the news. Right,
exactly. And also, I think at this point in his superheroing, depending on whether he was blipped or not, which I hope we find out at some point. I'm sure we will. Surely, at some point they'll tell us. My hope is that he was blipped, but Fisk was not. So Fisk spent the last 5 years building up his organization, and like Matt Murdock was not there to stop him. And then he comes back and he's like, all that work I did, you know?
That's a really good theory. I like that.
I like that too.
Also, was the helmet gold?
It was yellowish. I thought it was gold at first. I actually rewound it. I actually did not recognize it as Daredevil's helmet at first. I didn't see the little nubs. I thought it looked like a Spartan helmet or something turned on its side. I was like, what is that? I had to like rewind and get closer because I was like 30 feet from the TV. My mom's den is really big. TV placement is not good. But yeah, so he has a yellow costume in comics. There's like yellow and red, and so I'm thinking that's kind of what they're teasing, is that he's going to get the yellow and red costume.
Maybe we'll get both of them next episode in comics accurate costumes.
Ooh, now see, that's a great call. I wonder if there's like a classic comic where Daredevil and She-Hulk like met or dated or something, and I wonder if they're like trying to do like a comics accurate moment or whatever. Yeah, I wonder. Like, I bet, because I think his yellow costume is more from like the 80s, maybe. And she has a
source pages folks on here.
Yeah, she has a lot of runs like in that same era, so that are very popular or whatever, 80s and 90s or whatever. Yeah, I'm scanning the internet, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see both of them in costume.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we only have 5 episodes left, so I think we're probably gonna get a lot more time with the Titania storyline, I'm guessing.
Maybe? Right? Like she tries to enact vengeance on
Yeah, she's like,
She-Hulk?
this isn't over. I think she is trying to, and we also have this weird Wrecking Crew thing that happened where they said their boss. So some people have speculated that's Titania. Some people have speculated that's the leader, which I thought was a really good theory until they, I won't tell anything about D23. I won't tell you anything about D23. Sorry about that. But the people probably know what I was going to say.
Do you want me to just plug my ears? You can say it.
I like.
I'll take my headphones off. I won't listen to this episode later.
People that are not watching on the video need to go watch the YouTube video, because Catherine just held her fingers up to her headphones as if she was going to somehow plug her ears through her headphones. That just pushes the headphones in further.
I really want to hear the spoiler.
I'm not listening. Earmuffs, but earmuffs over headphones doesn't work.
Say it right now, Matt.
Anyway, interesting that you're not following any D23 stuff.
I've already been on the chat and I've already seen some things, and I'm just like, oh god, I already know. And then once you know, you can't unknow, right? And then the speculation begins.
Yep. I can do a really good job of like unknowing something by you know how like one of my favorite things is to headcanon something.
Yes.
One of my other favorite things is to decanonize something through like weird logic. Like, oh, they said this guy's gonna be in that movie. Well, that could mean anything, and I like start to spin like other ways that could happen that is not the way that I'm assuming it'll happen. And before I know it, like all of my theories are Mr. Fantastic unfurled on the floor.
Everything leads back to Mephisto. We know this.
That's right. Oh, I said this on the chat last night, but I loved it. I watched Avengers with my niece last night for the first time. Like I said, I've been keeping her for a few weeks, and so we've been watching through all of the Marvel movies, and so we just got to Avengers last night. She's very excited. Okay, I've got to tell you 2 stories. Firstly, I know you got to go too. Sorry. 2 things that she said during the Avengers that like got me so good. She, in one of the very first scenes of Avengers, is the Herald of Thanos is talking to Loki. And he's like, he will be very upset if you cannot bring us the Tesseract, you know? And she said, who is he? and she said, is he like the devil or something? And so I was like, she's such a panda. She's theorizing about Mephisto and she doesn't even know it.
It's actually a stork, and he will be very mad.
Yeah, someone posted a stork dancing gif when I posted that on the chat last night. But the other one that got me that I loved, oh gosh, this was so heartbreaking and funny. And I knew it was coming, so like it was even funnier for me in the moment. She said, Coulson steps on the screen, and she said, man, he's my favorite. I like all these heroes, and she's been saying that throughout as we watched it. It's like, oh, Captain America's my favorite. Oh, Iron Man's my favorite. Like she's picking a favorite all the time. And Coulson steps on the screen and she says, man, he's my favorite. I love him. All these heroes, I don't even care about them. Coulson's my favorite. And then immediate spear through the heart. Immediate. Like she said it out loud, spoke it into the universe, and a spear directly through his heart. And she was like, she fell out of her chair screaming. It was so good. Just seeing her like experience that for the first time. She was like, is
then
he
you
really?
gotta get her to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's like 7 seasons of Coulson.
She was so upset I had to tell her. I was like, he is dead. It is true. But he comes back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They bring him back. And she was like, oh, well, let's watch that show instead of all these movies. And I was like,
absolutely watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We'll check it out. So
it's such a good show.
It is. Okay. Catherine, thank you for being here. Everybody,
hey, thanks for having me.
Hang out. We'll be back. I'm going to try to do an episode on the more fun stuff version of Spider-Man this weekend.
Oh, how many extra minutes?
I don't know. But I just have seen some like random things online. I've tried to avoid spoilers, but apparently there's like a little more Matt Murdock in it. And like, yeah, that makes me excited. So I'm gonna go see that and have an episode on that this week. It's very late because we were at Dragon Con when it came out, but yeah. So stick around in the feed, guys. We'll be back soon. Peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. Available everywhere you get podcasts, and now a video version streaming live on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv and available at youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you'd like to learn more about all of our other podcasts, geeky projects, and ways to support the network, visit strandedpanda.com.